Hello everybody, welcome back to Practical Japanese, where we help you with Japanese that you can use every day. And so in today's episode, I wanted to show you exactly how to write every single hiragana and katakana character. And I know there might be a lot of things out there, but I still see comments on the internet of people wanting to know how exactly do you write them, and so that's what this video is for, and so I hope more people will find it. um, and I actually made another video about character stroke order, and essentially it is the same for hiragana and katakana, and the rule to writing any character is left to right, top to bottom. And some characters might be a little tricky, but you just kind of got to get used to it. I mean, if you're going to study the language, that's just kind of what happens. There's a lot of repetition involved when learning languages, and you just get used to a bunch of things. But if you understand basically that every character is written left to right, top to bottom, you will be okay. And um, the other trick to keep in mind to keep a character looking nice is imagine a perfect square, and when you're writing your character, the character will fill up that square um, evenly. Okay, so that's kind of how you can judge the size and the width of the characters to draw. But anyway, again, they go left to right, top to bottom, and um, by watching how I write every single one of these characters, um, hopefully that will eliminate any sort of questions on how exactly to write it, because how I'm writing it here is exactly how you write it. Okay, so um, if you'd like, later on I can make more videos when it comes to more complicated characters that we use. Those are called Kanji, which are Chinese characters that were brought over to Japan a long time ago, and Japan just kept using it. And interesting fact is, for those of you who don't know, is although Japanese and Chinese are not mutually understood, the characters that Japanese use are more or less the same as the ones used in parts of China, and the meaning is the same. So even though they're pronounced differently, um, if a Chinese person were to look at the Japanese kanji characters, they could kind of guess the meaning of what's going on just based off of the characters, even though we can't understand each other. And vice versa, if a Japanese person knows enough kanji characters, then they could go to parts of China like Hong Kong or Taiwan, where they use the traditional old style, more complicated characters, which is the one Japan uses, and they could also kind of guess generally what certain things might mean. So anyway, this video is just going to be me, obviously, writing every single character. And so to take up some time, I thought I would tell you guys the story of how I learned Japanese, and it's just going to be a brief story. But um, I'm Japanese American, born and raised in America, and I actually didn't grow up speaking Japanese. I would listen to it a lot on the TV and radio, and there's a lot of Japanese people outside, so I would listen a lot, and I could copy the words um, and whatnot, but I never really knew the meaning uh, for most of my life, and until around high school. Then I started making more Japanese friends, and after high school I went to Japan for 4 years for college, and I got immersed in the language, and then I picked it up. But um, it wasn't that simple either. There was still a lot of work that had to be done, even though I was immersed. And Japanese is just so different than English. You almost need to change the way you think. And what's interesting about really learning a another language, especially if you've been so heavily involved in just primarily one your whole life, you realize that there's a whole new way to think, and that people in a different part of the earth uh, think very differently than you. And um, maybe it's just the way a language is structured, but the way Japanese is, in order to make a sentence properly, it forces you to think differently, which is kind of cool. And so you can see the world through a different perspective that way. And that's what I really love about languages in general. Right now, I'm actually studying French. I've been studying since March of 2018, and I've never missed a day. But that's another story. Back to the Japanese, though. Um, uh, I think Japanese as a language is actually pretty simple. There might be some expressions that you might think to yourself, why is it even said this way? Or it might be even idiomatic, but um, you know, you just kind of got to learn those. But for the most part, Japanese is very straightforward and almost kind of simple. Um, the only difficult part, I would say, is the kanji. And for native English speakers who don't know other languages, might have to get used to conjugating verbs, and that is where the ending part of the verb is changed to change the context of it. And in Japanese, verbs are conjugated based on time, uh, which is present affirmative, present negative, past affirmative, and past negative. And there's no real future um, conjugation. Those would fall into the present category. And so an example of that is like um, tabemasu, which is to eat. So tabe is the verb stem, and then mas is the ending. And mas is present affirmative. So it's eat plus present affirmative, which means I eat or I will eat. But if we change that last part to, for instead of mas, you say mashita, then it becomes tabe plus mashita. So tabemashita means I ate. Okay, that's just an example. I will have another video of how exactly to do that coming up very soon. Um, but anyway, going back to how I learned Japanese. So I did go to school in Japan, and I did have to take Japanese classes, but those were semi-difficult for me. Um, there were a lot of things I just didn't know, and I felt like I was playing catch-up a lot of the time. But I was living in the dorm, and I had a roommate, and he helped me a lot. He slowed down his speech a lot for me so I could really understand, and he would fix my broken Japanese and my errors every single day. And I think the key here that really helped me learn the language is just every single day, consistency, every day, all day. Um, and even if you don't have time all day, even if you don't live in Japan, I think you still can learn the language. Just be intentional about your pronunciation. I think that really helps. Really focusing on trying to copy the sounds as best and as close as possible. And whenever you listen to the TV or you listen to a drama or something, try to copy what they say. Just try to talk along and repeat what they say, and almost kind of take on that persona of that character or that person and try to sound like them, try to copy them. And that helping your pronunciation helps you remember the words, in my opinion. And it just adds to the repetition. When you speak the words, it helps it stick in your head some more instead of just listening to the words, or instead of just reading the words. When you have output, like speaking and writing, that is when I think the language really sticks in your head. And so if I could encourage any of you guys to do anything, it would just be keep going, even if it's like 15, 20, 30 minutes a day. Just don't miss a day. Every day, a little bit. And if you just do one word a day, that's 365 words in a year. And that's a lot of words. You could make many different sentences with 365 words. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and hopefully now you can understand exactly how to write every single hiragana and katakana character. If you have any questions, of course, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And other than that, hope you guys have a great day, and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. じゃあ、またね。